I'm here at Towcester Racecourse on the eve of the first heats of the Greyhound Derby this year with Mick Livesey. Thanks for agreeing to talk to us, Mick. Can we start from basically your background, really? What's your sort of background in greyhound racing and how did you get into the sport?
I've always been a massive fan of greyhound racing. I was lucky that I grew up in a small town in Lancashire called Blackburn, and obviously there was a greyhound track in Blackburn, and also we had 8 tracks all within an hour of where we lived, and I would go to the flapping tracks, your West Ortons, your Boltons, St Helens, Oldham, all of those, Preston, as a boy with my dad, and it just grew from there, really, Simon.
Okay, so you've I did read, doing my research, you spent about a decade working for the sport newspaper. Now, that must have been a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun and a lot less stressful than my current job, Simon, that's for sure. But yeah, I was the chief sports writer. I worked my way up to be the chief sports writer at the sport newspaper. I used to cover the Premier League, the football, also the greyhounds and horse racing as well. It was a lot of fun. The thing I remember most of the time at the sport is the parties. We used to have a party every quarter, and they were massive. And we had a certain Mr. Gascoigne writing at the newspaper at the time, and listen, what went on at the newspaper stays at the newspaper. But I guarantee you, it was a lot of fun.
I'm guessing that some of the stories there about double-decker buses on the moon, etc., might have been a bit tongue-in-cheek. Was all the sports reports factual?
Listen, when it's a slow news day and you've got space to fill, you have to fill it, Simon, and sometimes it's best guess. My favourite story at the sport newspaper was that Colonel Gaddafi was really a woman. I remember we got death threats in the newspaper and stuff, but thankfully I'm still alive, and that's the main job.
Well, hopefully you don't get any death threats at Towcester. Can you just talk us through what your working day would entail on a race night?
Well, it entails many things. As Ben, the head-on show of Star Sports will be coming tonight. I'll meet Ben and we'll go through it. But all the work is really done before the race night with the preparation of the track. I'm head of greyhound racing here at Towcester, so I oversee all the stuff in the track, obviously the racing and everything that goes on here from top to bottom. My colleague Ellen, who is brilliant, she deals with all the hospitality and all that side of things, and together we're a great team. And our boss Kevin Ackerman and Lord H, you know, it works really well, and I think we've done a lot of amazing things here. We started off on a journey. We're nowhere near completing that journey, but I think we're certainly going in the right direction, Simon.
Talking in the right direction, breaking news just before we met was that you signed deals with all the major bookmakers, which is pretty revolutionary for the viewing rights for the Greyhound Derby and heats, etc. How much work goes on? Obviously, a fair bit of work goes on in the background for those sort of things.
Yeah, no, it's colossal. We're very lucky that our chief executive Kevin, he's brilliant at organising deals and things like that, and we just support him and all work together to ensure we get the best deal for Towcester. Lord Esky from the family have put in serious investment here, and it's only fair that some of it comes back. Greyhound racing is a valuable product. It's often undersold, but during our time here at Towcester, we certainly hope that we get the price what greyhound racing is actually worth.
I mean, I can honestly say, talking to people in the past couple of weeks in the greyhound industry, that there's not been a bad word spoken about Towcester, and you know, everybody's sort of right behind you. As a sport in general, what direction do you see it heading in, and what sort of improvements and changes would you like to see made outside of this environment?
Well, to be completely honest with you, I don't really look outside of this environment, because we can't change that. We have no control over what goes on outside of our own environment. So we concentrate on doing what we think is right and the way the sport should be run in our own environment. One of the biggest things that we've done is look at the graded racing. We now have more graded competitions at this track than any other track in Britain, because you've got to look at it. You've got to put look at it from owner's shoes. When you buy a greyhound and it goes to a track and it runs and it ends up being a graded dog instead of an open race star, which we all hope there'll be, but you know, there's so many graded dogs. Turning up every week watching your dog running an A6 is hardly or inspiring or make you want to go out and buy more dogs. You've got to give people competition. greyhound racing is a sport, and it needs to be treated as such. And sport is about competition. And when you see, you know, all the stakes that we have running here on a Friday night on RPG TV, courtesy of Gain, you look at them and you see people cheering on the dog to qualify for third, to try and make it through to the next round or qualify for the final, and you suddenly realise that this is what the sport is all about. The sport is not about putting on low calibre graded racing, churning out 7-2 the field. You know, that's easy to do, but for the long-term future of the sport, I don't see that is the direction that the sport should be moving in.
Now, obviously, this month and then the first Saturday in June are the highlights. Well, I'd imagine they're the highlights of your working year here. And what are you most looking forward to this year about the Star Sports Greyhound Derby?
Well, I'm extremely fortunate. You know, I'm a massive greyhound racing fan. I love greyhounds and I love greyhound racing. To be the head of greyhound racing here at the home of the Derby is a dream come true. We're going to see all the best dogs in training, all take each other on. Starting tonight, it's going to be incredible. And the stories that will unfold throughout the Derby, like last year we had Astute Missile win it, and the story behind Seamus and Teresa, you know, was brought a tear to your eye. It really did, and it was great to see them win. I just think it's just a massive occasion. And I've got to get a plug in there. You know, the Derby final on June the 2nd is an all-ticket event. You know, you've got to get your tickets. There's an early bird offer on there now. £20. You get your race program, and you can get free admission to the semi-final as well. All our greyhound fixtures are all free admission, bar the semi-final of the Derby, the final of the Derby on Boxing Day.
Brilliant, thanks, Mick. And finally, I've saved you the easiest question to be asked. Who wins it?
Well, I think there's lots of interesting stories. You know, I'm not just saying this because I'm Towcester through and through, because I genuinely am. But I don't think there's two faster dogs in the country round Towcester than Bruiser's Bullet and Dorotha's Wildcat. I think that one of those will win it. If you put a gun to my head, it's hard to say, because I think it depends on the draw. I think they're both a little bit dependent on the draw. Whichever one got the look of it would win it. I know you get some big names come over from Ireland, and they do. Last year was Tyra Shea, was my charity bet for Star Sports. This year they give me 3 charity bets. Charity bets are Bruiser's Bullet, Dorotha's Wildcat, and one from left field, an each way punt at 200 to 1 is Celine Ash. A local graded dog here, if you can call him that, because our A1's are certainly open class, and Celine Ash is an open race in everything but name.
Brilliant, thanks Mick, thanks very much, and good luck with them. Let's hope the 201 shot wins.